fascinating film. I've got to see it twice, so stoked to talk to you about it. Has a lot of things in common with your past films, but it takes on espionage, which is a different thing for you. Could you talk to me a little bit about what it was moving into that genre?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I never really thought of it as espionage. I mean, we have, I guess you've seen it now, so you know he's a spy. To me, it was, it started as a story, as a businessman's story for various reasons. I wanted to do a film about this kind of tycoon character, and it seemed to want to be something more about a father and a daughter, and it's true that people get blown up and there are fighter jets and quicksand, and those were unexpected ingredients for me. I hadn't anticipated any dynamite when we began writing it, but it took us in a certain direction.
Sure, I mean, hand grenades just lend themselves to father-daughter stories, I find.
Yeah, and that he really is mostly just as a gift, really, that he carries those, so it's not really that violent. I mean, there's a certain violence around him, but, he says they're cheaper than a bullet for him.
Sure. And I know you wrote this with Benicio in mind, so how did you two work together to figure out who Genre is?
Go.
Well, I worked in a film of Wes's called The French Dispatch, and then he approached me at some point. I said, hey, I got this movie that I want to be involved in it. And I said, sure. Some time went by, and then he called me up and he said, hey, I have the first 20 pages, but you don't have to talk a lot. Are you going to be okay with that? And I said, well, if I get time to practice, I'm sure I'm going to be okay. So he sent me the first 20 pages, and I did talk a lot, but it was okay, 20 pages, that's cool. Then he sent me another 20 pages, and then I was like, okay, I'm still in the film. And then another 20 pages, and I'm going, okay, now I'm really scared. And then there's that fear that comes in, and I think that helps actors to get motivated and just try to do the best. So that's how it kind of went, and we spent a lot of time. I'll say one more thing. Working with Wes is it's different. Every director is different. Every movie is different. Every cast is different. Every story is different. But working with Wes is a bit. If I was a musician and I played rock music, when you go into a Wes Anderson film, it's more like classical music or jazz. But you still have to bring your instrument to play in that, and then you listen. He'd be like Dizzy Gillespie, and you're like listening to him, and then at some point the key is you gotta trust him, and then but he expects you to play, to bring your thing to it, whatever it is. It's not just like he's pulling strings. He expects you to break out and bring your stuff.
I mean, you thought at first it was like French Dispatch. You were just going to be like in a short film.
I thought maybe you had different stories like Passport City or The French Dispatch, but it wasn't the case.
I don't know why I didn't say, you're the guy.
I'm glad you didn't, because I would have been like a deer in the headlights. I don't know.
Too much pressure.
Yeah, too much.
That's good. So I played it right.
Yeah, thank you. You did it right. Yeah, thanks.
Well, in finding the relationship of this father-daughter, me and Benicio, keep talking about how you work together to find what their chemistry is, what their rhythms were.
Do you want to start or should I? Okay. Well, yeah.
You go.
Microphone for a little bit too long. You go.
Okay. I think it just came through playing and spending time with one another and getting to know each other off screen as well as on screen and on set. I mean, that's impossible to do when you live together. And there was a lot of fun and very trusting sort of experimentation of scenes and beats within the scene. And when we met each other for the first time, it was in the screen test, and that happened over 2 days. And that was sort of a very it was almost like a little kind of boiling dish. It all kind of got very condensed down, like how much can we get done in these 2 days? And then when we got to set, it was, okay, we've got a bigger pot to boil down stuff in. So yeah, you boil it and you see what comes out of it, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and I learned an awful lot.
What kind of scenes were in the screen test? You don't mind us asking.
I know exactly what it was, because I still remember the lines, because I tested myself the other day for fun. It was scene 6, which is that big first scene where we meet Jean and Beyond, who is listening in the corner sneakily. And yeah, it was, I think at the time it was like 16 pages long. So that's a lot of room to try stuff out and to play around, and yeah, I don't think I'm going to forget those lines ever, because I did them that many times.
She was extremely prepared. And when we did the audition, there was a moment in which we came to, we did our lines, and there was this moment where we locked eyes, and you got those big eyes that light up the screen, and she just locked in and didn't blink. And I remember that she walked out, and I went up to Wes, and I go, I think that's exactly what Zaza needs to start putting him on track, to start to develop a conscience of some sort, or whatever the character is going to evolve into. But she's very strong, very strong. And I think the decision was made by Wes, but we did talk a little bit about it, and she just blew us away.
Yeah, well, by then we'd been working together. I mean, we were working together on it so long that, it was the three of us, and also by the time we met you, by the time Benicio met you, we sort of knew, it was, it would have been too much trouble to do all that. It would have been too much of a waste of time.
I didn't know.
To do all that with somebody we weren't going to put in the movie.
Well, it's funny to hear that now, like, oh yeah, you basically had the part when you came in and
This is the first time I'm hearing this. So I didn't know that. And
Just back it up, we're not gonna, it's not, you knew there wasn't somebody else who was going through all of that, or you didn't know that?
No.
Oh, see,
Okay, we're all
Nobody
finding out
knows
this in real time,
anything,
everyone.
But it's fine, because you didn't need to know.
Well, no, I'm glad that I didn't know, because then I not that I would have been resting on my laurels at all, I wouldn't have, but I was so terrified when I got that phone call from my agent saying, yeah, Wes wants you to play Liesl. I made her hang up the phone and call casting back, because I refused to let myself believe that I was hearing that. And I was convinced that a mistake had been made, so I made her go and call them back. She did, called me back and said, that was really embarrassing. That was really embarrassing. Why would I be lying about this? And then I subsequently burst into tears. I have cried a lot through this whole process just because I completely don't believe what's happening. I did not think this was on my bingo card. And
well, you won this bingo card. You're great in this movie.
Thanks.
I do want to talk about Bjorn. Michael, this is your first movie with Wes, and you fit so well into it that I kept checking my notes that this was your first movie with Wes. I'd like to hear a little bit about how you guys evolved Bjorn.
Well, Wes really created Bjorn. When I first read the script, I basically saw more or less, that in my mind. It was very vivid and it was very fully realized. And then it just got quiet, right? The AC shut off. My answer is getting really serious or something. And then the thing we really had to sort of dial in together was the accent. Because I sort of took it for granted that he would have a Norwegian accent because he was written as a Norwegian man. But when I brought it up, it sort of felt like you hadn't considered that, or weren't anticipating that. Is that accurate?
Well, when you say that it was all already fully conceived and you saw it when you read it, but for me, I say the same thing. Except I say the opposite. It was, to me, I didn't see it until you did it.
You didn't seem like that.
So what you saw when you read it was something that I hadn't really envisioned.
Right.
And it was, and to me, it's like, you did the whole thing. For the accent, I mean, I don't even know what I thought. I thought when you said, when you started working on it, it made me nervous because I'm like, what is this? Is this gonna work?
Right.
But then you said, just let me get it ready. And then when you did it, I was like, great. I could be the audience. That's what I prefer to be. That was my experience of it.
We fortunately had sort of like a week and a half or so to rehearse and prepare. We kind of tiptoed toward I was kind of like doing the accent at like 25% at first, and then trying not to like make Wes terrified of it, and myself, either. But I did feel like he kind of needed that. I mean, maybe just because that's what
I love the accent. And by the way, Bjorn is not from Oslo.
He's not. No, that's what I always thought. If the accent is terrible, I can always say it was supposed to be because he's an American and he's doing a poor accent himself. So I think it's a hidden layer. But yeah,
I think Agent Carlson is good at this Norwegian. That's
Also,
my opinion.
good at Norwegian drunk, which is like another level.
He had the polygraph.
Polygraph.
Amazing Norwegian drunk, which was incredible to
I
watch.
was faking drunk.
Yes.
You weren't actually drunk and doing a Norwegian accent. You were faking drunk and doing a Norwegian accent. I appreciate the distinction.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't drunk, but also Carlson wasn't drunk. He was pretending to be drunk because he feels less inhibited when he pretends to be drunk.
Oddly, I thought that was funny.
See, when you tap to see it the second time, you get more of the layers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody remembers that line, right? Kind of an important line.
I'd like to talk about the opening in the bathroom, because I think it's such a distinctive scene, and it's so beautiful and kind of, I don't know, there's something magical about it. Can you talk a little bit about how that came together?
Well, how it came together is more like I had this music, I had this image, or whatever it is, something that happens in your imagination and you can see a thing. But to do it, but I thought this is what the titles are. And Benicio and I have talked about, subsequently we've thought about Raging Bull, which has this slow motion title sequence that has probably, of all the things that I was stealing from, all the movies I was stealing from, maybe that's the one I was most stealing from in that moment. But the way of shooting, what was it like to sit in that tub and play that?
It was long. This is how it went. I go in, I sit in the bathtub. Wes comes in and says, the camera's up there, we're gonna do it in one take, and I'm gonna shoot in slow motion. I said, well, great. And then he goes, but you and everyone else has to act really fast. So I gotta eat, drink, think, smoke, whatever, really fast. And so I went, wait a minute, if we're going fast and you're going slow, doesn't that check itself out? Doesn't it mean like do it in real time? And then he goes, no, it's gonna be different, it's gonna be different. And I go, okay. So we sat there, we tried to get everyone, all the nurses going around, coming in, running fast, turn the page, moving, and we did it. We got maybe 1 or 2 takes that there were no fuck-ups. And then when I saw it, it was different. It's not slow motion, it's not real motion, it's got its own thing. It's pretty amazing. That's what you do when you work with this guy. You just gotta trust him.
I remember you said, it's going to cancel itself out and just be regular motion again.
Yeah. With water, shaking like this.
Yes, you get medicine put in your mouth. There's a lot. Again, when I know you're talking about you're all going to go see it the second time, and you'll see, just study that scene when you're watching it together the second time.
Well,
There's a lot of behavior.
I'd like to ask the cast, what first drew you to the script?
It's a no-brainer. It's a bit of no. I mean, yes, it is a no-brainer. I didn't get sent it in the way that Michael and Benicio did, because I very much went through an extensive audition process, which was very full on, but definitely the most.
You were
important
cast
one.
first and given the script later.
Correct.
So
partially
she was
correct.
interested in it because it was the movie she was going to have to do.
But I do remember reading it because it was in between my third audition and my screen test. And somewhere in that time, I did not think that I was going to be allowed to read anything other than the minimal pages, which I was only allowed to have for about an hour to 2 hours before each audition that I had, and I had to begrudgingly give them back, and I don't know where they went. So I only had small windows of time to get any information, and then at some point, I think it was in October, I was given in a very timed, encrypted PDF link the script, and I remember getting that through and thinking, there is no way, it was the equivalent of like a fairy popping across your laptop. I couldn't believe it, and then I read it, and then still couldn't believe it, and then read it again, and still couldn't believe it.
I have a question for these two here. What is it like to watch a movie from those seats? I think there's a lot of good seats in this house. Those may not be the best. They have a nice privacy to them. You know,
I'm just
but it's
admiring the blazers.
a difficult angle.
Those are excellent blazers.
Yeah. But do your eyes kind of just accommodate it eventually, or is it would be better to be in another seat? We should give them a refund. Not really fair. It shouldn't be something
You wanna know how are the seats there?
They said bad.
Bad? Well, outside, west side.
But it's probably fine for the Q&A, am I right? Oh, yeah. Cancels it out.
Was there anything, what was the scene in the script for the actors that was the most intimidating ahead of time? It seems like everyone's waiting on you, Michael. Were you intimidated by a particular scene?
I don't know, for me, I didn't have a particular scene I was intimidated by, but just getting started, getting up to speed, you just wanna, it's like Nina was saying, I mean, it's such a big opportunity. I had the same shock the first time I read the script at the level of involvement of this, Wes, said, I'm making a movie, do you want to get in? And I said, yes, before knowing anything. I mean, which is, I think, the obvious thing to do. And then, so I was like really stunned when I saw that I would be there the whole time, which was like an amazing treat, obviously. So I think I just wanted to deliver in the basic sense. And when we started, we kind of all like found, our working language together. But Wes does a thing called pre-shooting, where we, for like 2 weeks or so, kind of just get up to speed and spend like, a whole day working on basically one or maybe two shots and pieces. So that's a really nice way to sort of like find your footing with each other.
Yes,
figure out
those
what you
days we would rehearse a bit maybe and then
Yeah.
shoot for a little while and I like that. Appreciate it. Well, I have a question. When you arrive on the set, do you come to the set calm or do you come to the set tense? Like, is it a nervous arrival? Like, what is it for you, Benicio, when you arrive on the set? Or is it different every day?
Yeah, it's different every day. Yeah, it's different. But it's nice to be driven by the director. Many times, Wes would drive us from the hotel we were staying to the studio in a golf cart.
I never did that. No, there was a reason why I didn't do that, because my outfit is white, and that is a golf cart on roads with rain potentially and mud, and also I refused to sit down the entire shoot because the material I noticed was going to crease so quickly, and I knew that lovely costume people would be stressing about ironing out creases, and I said, no, I'm not going to sit down. And then I think all three of you at a different point journeying into work went, are you going to sit down today? I was like, no, not doing it. It's probably not the safest way to go to work.
And what about you, Michael? Like when you arrive on when you go to the set, do you feel nerves? Not really.
No, not really, because, I mean, going, like, working on a set, everything is going so slowly, you kind of can't sustain a state of, like, nervousness all day.
Yeah.
And, I mean, some days it feels like, okay, this is a big scene today, this is what you really want to get right. And those days you kind of think about a lot, and you work yourself up a little bit into a state.
Michael, what about your Tarzan moment?
That,
I mean, that was
That was beautiful.
yeah, and there was
that
a
charge stunt guy doing that.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I
Thank you.
really going into that.
That was exciting. I mean, I was really excited to dive into quicksand.
It was amazing to watch. My reaction was very genuine because I'm like, oh, he's done it. Oh, wait, the tree, the rope. Oh, God.
We only did one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It's kind of funny when he squeezes the kids before he does it. When you guys kiss, it's very funny.
Well, we kind of Hollywooded the kiss.
We did. No, we had a little talk. We were like, how should we do this?
Let's move our bodies when we kiss.
All Holly was like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's kind of turning into just a private conversation.
Sorry. Well, we have time for one more thing. So I'm gonna ask, you've given some really great stories to the audience today. Is there any additional bit of trivia from the making of the movie that you want the audience to know about?
Well, I could ask them, do we want to give the audience, like, we can give them two things. Do you guys like to ask questions or things? Yeah.
I can say a
Can we
question
try to put a
already.
couple questions? We'll do quick ones.
Okay.
Like her, she.
Yes, I'm not gonna say another one.
We'll do these two. First the one who's standing and then the one who's bouncing.
Okay.
I just want to say that I admire you so much. I work in film production, and what you do, Wes, really makes what I do worth it. And thank you for making movies like this and making film like so important for me. And you guys did such an amazing job. Wes, what I really admire about you is like your storytelling ability. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about how you developed this story and maybe your process of developing stories with your contributors like Roman Coppola, like Wilson Brothers, just how you found what you wanted to focus on and develop your work out of that.
Well, I like the question. I feel it might be too long. No, that's all right. The question isn't too long, it's the answer. Yeah, for me to do that, I'm just going to drag it out. And I think it will, everyone will just have to.
Oh, you know the answer. Say it quickly.
I'll give a short answer.
Are you guys giving notes right now?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, she's right. It's a good note. This one began with the idea of a character who was partly inspired by my father-in-law to be played by Benicio. And it just grew out of that. That was the beginning. So every one of them starts with something small, and it kind of grows out of it. That's been my experience. That's a little version of an answer to that. Way shorter than I thought it was going to be.
Bouncing lady.
Oh my God! I never in my life thought that I would like see you in real life. My brother surprised me with tickets, so this is very big. You're my favorite director. Thank you so much for the art that you make. You're my brother's favorite director as well. I have a very boring question.
Okay.
All movies that you made, what is your favorite?
Favorite movie of mine. For me, it's always a new one. This is the one. We've been working on it for a long time now, and what can I say? It's for me, it's been we've been showing it for the last couple of weeks. We opened the movie at the Cannes Film Festival, and we kind of traveled around a bit, and it's an amazing thing to kind of have a reunion with a little group like this, where we spend so much time together and we try to put everything into it. For me, the answer is the Phoenician scheme.
Well,